There's one thing I regret about the decision to quit my 9-to-5 job. It's the reason why I quit when I did. You may have heard about the concept of only quitting your job if you're running to something else and not if you're running away from your job. But the issue is most people who have other goals, dreams, and aspirations outside of their 9-to-5 job still went the 9-to-5 route for some reason. There are things from your life, maybe it's life experience, the way you were raised, a bad relationship with money, or even maybe a past failure that made you feel not good enough, that caused you to go down the 9-to-5 route, even if you knew it's not what you wanted from the start. I recently found an old journal of mine that I wrote about 2 years ago, pre 9-to-5 page, where I talked about my goals and aspirations for the future. The funny thing is that what I wrote had nothing to do with engineering, it had nothing to do with transportation, and it was all surrounding this concept of helping others, of coaching people and helping them achieve what they want in life, of creating YouTube videos and other content to help those who don't have access to it, and basically summed up what I'm doing right now today. The funny thing is, I knew this 2 years ago and I still did multiple engineering internships, graduated with an industrial engineering degree, accepted a position at an engineering 9-to-5 job, moved to an entire different city to do that job, and still stayed in that job for an entire year where I was extremely unhappy. When I was debating the decision of whether or not to leave my 9-to-5 job, I looked up tons of videos about how to know when it's the right time to leave your job, how much money you should save up before leaving, other people's stories about leaving, regrets that they had afterwards, achievements they had afterwards, anything I could consume to help me make my decision about whether or not I should leave. I'm sure many of you watching this right now have done the same, and it's probably why you're currently watching this video and probably why you've subscribed to my channel. But all of those videos out there, the ones I've watched, the ones you've probably watched, and any of the ones that you can just search and look up right now are missing something extremely important. And it's something that I personally missed myself in my decision-making process to decide whether or not to leave my job. Yes, the logistics are important, how much money you save up is important, and the plan that you have is important, but none of these actually touch on the root problem. I put out a poll the other day on my channel as well as on my Instagram and asked you guys if you're currently struggling with the decision on whether or not to leave your 9-to-5 job. And a lot of you answered yes. Some of you said that you are looking to leave your 9-to-5 job to pursue a more non-traditional path. Others of you said you were leaving and wanted to find a new job. And a ton of you also said you were leaving, but you didn't exactly know what you wanted to do instead. You just knew that you were unhappy where you were right now. The more videos I make about my journey, the more I talk to you guys through Zoom calls, and the more comments I read, the more called I feel to help you all in this journey that you're on. So I'm putting together a 4-week live group program to help you create an aligned exit strategy so you can leave your job with not just the logistics figured out, not out of stress or out of fear, but with an aligned path forward to pursue something that actually lights you up inside. I'm aiming to have 10 people in the first round, so if you're interested, make sure to go to the link in my description to put yourself on the waitlist and hold your spot. I'm super excited to work with you all to make this program the most helpful, encouraging place that keeps you feeling supported along your journey. So back to the topic of questions. The question that I believe is the most important to ask yourself is not whether you're running to something or from something, it's why you chose to go down the path that you went down in the first place. Here are the questions that I focused on while I was debating whether or not to leave my 9-to-5 job. The first one is how much money I had saved. I looked at our numbers way too many times. I looked up so many different people's experiences, how much money they saved before they left, how they saved, and anything surrounding the amount of money they had. I looked up the penalty for dipping into my 401k early. I thought about the taxes I would have to pay on any investment funds that I would take out of our account. And I basically worried over how much money we had. The next related question is how long we would last on the savings we had. I looked at it from every different angle. I figured out ways to reduce our expenses. I thought about every worst case scenario and looked into how much time other people planned for before leaving their job. I heard 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, every range of numbers. The third question is what jobs I could do after I quit to make some extra cash. So you've probably heard me talk about this before on my channel, but I looked up things like Rover, Instacart, Uber driver, literally any possible way to make some extra cash that had low commitment, low barrier to entry that I could immediately do after I quit my job if I wanted to. I thought about what people would think about the fact that I quit my job. I worried over what my family would think, what my friends would think. I thought about how it would affect people's opinions of me, how it would change the way they looked at me. I worried about my coworkers and if they would look at me differently, if they would be disappointed in me. Basically, I was stuck in this constant loop of fear, fear, and more fear. Now, looking back, it's really clear to me after a few months of being out of my job and doing a lot of inner work that there's a lot of questions that I should have focused on when deciding whether or not to leave my job that I completely ignored and didn't even think once about. So I'm going to be sharing a few of those with you today in the hopes that it helps you guys to think through them and maybe make a better decision. The first one, which I've already touched on, is why I chose this path in the first place. Why exactly did I go down the route I went? Why was I in engineering? Why did I take this job? Why did I move to this city? Why did I want this salary? All of those questions really helped me to see that I was still living in a past state that I had been in when I was younger. I was making decisions surrounding values that I don't even hold for myself. And if you want to know a bit more about my answer to this question, I did discuss it in my Why I Quit My Job video, which I will link right here. The next one was, what values do I hold that this job does not support? This one was pretty clear to me that this job was going to take a large commitment from me, and there was really no way for me to get off the climbing of the ladder that was associated with the job. I was going to have to keep learning, I was going to have to keep growing, I was going to have to take on more responsibilities, and if I wanted to have kids in the future, that might affect that. A big piece of this was actually figuring out what values I actually hold now and what values I've let go of years ago, but I still am acting as if they're a part of my life. The next one was, what limiting beliefs are keeping me stuck? This one was extremely important because I found that I was living, like I said before, out of a place of fear. A lot of the reasons that I told myself I shouldn't leave my job or I should stay in my job were things that weren't even true. I would tell myself that that's all I'm good at, I'm just good at math and I need to stay there, I'm never gonna find anything else, I'm never gonna make money anywhere else, and I don't deserve to do anything but be miserable in this job. I don't really think that makes a lot of sense now. The next one, which I've heard a lot of you reference, is how can I learn to actually listen to myself to figure out what I actually want and then be able to trust myself to make decisions based off of what I know I want. This one definitely takes a lot of time and practice, and it's something that you get really used to doing once you get into a habit of learning to listen to yourself and finding ways to actually sit down and give yourself time to think through your ideas, think through your fears and your thoughts and your aspirations, and actually write them out. And the last one is, how can I ensure that I will never reach this level of stress and burnout ever again? One thing I see a lot is someone being in a job that causes them a lot of stress and burnout, so they want to leave the job. So they leave that job and jump right into another similar job. And the problem is, because they never took time to actually figure out what in the last job caused them stress and burnout, they end up right back where they were, just in a new company. And all of those questions I just mentioned are the types of questions and the types of topics that we're going to be discussing in that group program that I am creating for you all. So if you're interested in learning not only just what the questions are, but how to answer them and then how to actually apply that to your life and to your decisions, again, make sure you check out the link in my description and put yourself on the wait list to hold your spot. So as you can see, the first set of questions is all surrounding fear and survival, while the second set of questions are focused on growth, introspection, and healing. So which of these sets of questions do you think is going to set you up better to make a good decision? I really hope you're saying the second one. And now I want to pause really quick and say that I'm not telling you that the first set of questions are not important. They are really important, but they're just a small piece of the puzzle. The way I like to look at it is that the growth questions are a large piece of the puzzle. There's huge chunks of the puzzle that are already put together, and you can get a feel for what the entire picture, the entire puzzle is supposed to actually look like. While the first set of questions, the logistical questions, are these few last pieces that are left that connect all of the big pieces of the puzzle together. So both are extremely important to make a completed puzzle. But if you only answered the logistical questions, you would have a few puzzle pieces here and there that don't give you any accurate representation representation of what the puzzle actually is supposed to look like. Versus if you just answered the growth questions, you would have an entire picture of what the puzzle is. You would know what the end result of the puzzle is supposed to look like. You just wouldn't have the resources, those few missing pieces, to actually connect it all together. So that is all I have for you guys today. I really hope this video was helpful. As I always say, make sure to hit the like button down below if it was helpful for you and share it with someone who needs to hear it. I cannot wait to work with you guys more closely in the group program. So make sure to jump in to the wait list and save your seat below. Other than that, I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.